So if you know me, I'm always hard on Ohio State quarterbacks. I love the showing that C.J. Stroud came out with and showed this Sunday. 20 for 30, almost 300 yards. 280 from in the air, 2 touchdowns. Had a quarterback rating of 118. The running game wasn't completely dominant, but it was consistent. 26 for 86, 1 touchdown. Jaguars ran the ball well on the ground. And then you have Tank Dell, who I thought kind of fell in the draft. I'm not sure when they took Tank Dell. They took Tank Dell. They got Tank Dell in the draft. When did they get him in the draft? Oh, yeah, they had Tank Dell in the third round of the draft. I felt that. I really felt that he slept a little bit. I think he's a receiver that could, he's not a possession receiver, but he's like a Brandon Bakes type receiver. He's gonna get what he needs to get. He's gonna get yards and he's gonna get open. He's gonna find spots. He's gonna evolve as a route runner as well too. So I think Tank Dell and the connection that he had with CJ was solid. This wasn't up against a weak defense now. This was actually up against a pretty solid defense. I think the Jaguars' defense is one of the better in the league. They may have fell off this year, but you got guys like Andre Cisco who I think are solid. The front four isn't what it used to be, but that secondary is solid. Tyson Campbell, Trayvon Walker up front. But when you go there and you have a defense that you put up almost 300 yards through the air on this defense, I think it's impressive. D'Amico Ryans is really allowing, putting, and what you saw in the game was this. If you protect C.J. Stroud, then he's gonna stand in the pocket and make a great throw. You gotta get to C.J. Stroud. That front four, I mean, they didn't sack him once. He really wasn't. There was actually no sacks in this game, by the way. They didn't sack him once. They had 4 QB hits, but they didn't sack him once. And you're not getting to C.J. Stroud. It's like him at OSU. He's going to sit there and pick you apart. Let me tell you, that defense is starting to show. I mean, the D'Amico Ryans defense is really starting to show. And you stopped the Jacksonville Jaguars. They didn't do bad. They had 288 on the air. They had 288 in the air. They had 116 on the ground. It wasn't like they were doing bad, but Houston just outscored them and got the stops when they needed to get the stops. We're seeing this lapse with Trevor Lawrence once again of him kind of falling asleep during the season. This is not Clemson. Do I think they're going to come out of it? I do think they will. Houston, the question is, how does Houston build on it? You have the Steelers next, which is going to be a huge test. You have the Falcons, the Saints, and Falcons, Saints, and the Panthers. Right, so you have a winnable games. Right, the next 4 games should be winnable. Bucks, and you have the big. So you have winnable games. Right. Could they make a push? They could, right? You win these games going into the midseason. Can they do well and come out of this push with a win? They could. You make this. You go through this midseason push and you win some games and then you start saying, okay, you know what? Let's fight for playoff contention. A lot to go, but this defense is spearheaded by Alabama players. You have Christian Harris, Will Anderson, Henry To'oTo'o. There's three guys who are making waves on defense from Alabama, and of course you got Steven Nelson, who I think is the pioneer, the brain behind the secondary. You got a veteran like Steven Nelson, who I thought did a really good job on Calvin Ridley when he was on his side. Had a nice PD pass deflection up the sidelines. Steven Nelson is a guy that has gotten better year over year. He's been working hard in the offseason, but he's a guy that I think that really is the leader of that on this defensive secondary that we're not paying attention to. So big shout out to Steven Nelson, just going in there year in, year out, making, and week in, week out, making plays. Even in the game, who'd they play? Even the game against the Ravens, I thought he played well. The Colts, I thought he played well. So Steven Nelson, I think it's blessed. They're blessed to have him on his team and get him back for another year. Now on the Jacksonville side, once again you're in the AFC, so you got some tough games. For Jacksonville up next, you have the Falcons, which is winnable, but then you have the Bills, the Colts, the Saints, and Steelers. So for Jacksonville, you got to figure out, hey, how can you win the tough games and win the games that you're supposed to win? it's not just about winning the games you're supposed to win. It's about winning the tough games because you're supposed to be a top contender in the AFC. Some people have them going to the AFC Championship game. So for the Jags, they have to play tough and win the games that are tough games that they're supposed to win. But we'll see what happens with this. They got a lot of draft picks to utilize as well too. But yeah, we'll see what happens.